Let's talk about website accessibility remediation. And all remediation means is that we are fixing the website to make sure it is free of accessibility issues. So we want to divide remediation into two parts. And we want to think about remediation in terms of code remediation and content remediation. So with code, that's self-explanatory. We're making sure that our code is correct. And then with our content, we are concerned with images. And my marker doesn't work. So let me pick up a marker that works. We're concerned with images. We're concerned with text, video, any audio, potentially documents. So we might have PDFs on our website, etc. That's what we're talking about when it comes to content. And content is something that is actually very easy. It's not technically complex unless we're getting into documents. And then yes, with PDF remediation, it definitely gets technically advanced. But for the most part, content is easy. And if you really have a problem with PDFs, then you could just take them off the website. But when it comes to text, we're just looking at a few things like anchor text. We're looking at the headings. We're making sure text isn't embedded in images. When it comes to images, we're just deciding whether they're decorative or meaningful. And if they're meaningful, we're adding alt text descriptions and so on. But the point here is that these are considerations. We need to remediate them. And if you're concerned with litigation, the accessibility of content does come up frequently, especially with images. But of course, it can apply to any different types of content. The key here is that content is beginner friendly. It's easy. You can train someone to work on your content and remediate your content. It wouldn't be that difficult, but it's possibly going to take a long time. So when I say that, let's just think about the different media you have on your website. Let's say you have 25 podcasts and you need to have transcripts for all 25 of those podcasts. Well, then you need to transcribe those podcasts. Now with AI transcription, this is easier. You'd want to ideally review those AI transcripts, but that is possible. But then you have to make sure that those transcripts are in place for all of those different podcast episodes. So then you may be getting more technically complex because then you have to provide a place for those transcripts to be, or maybe we're just linking to the transcript. So we've got this link and then it goes to a page with the transcript on it, and that would be fine. But that would be something where we could potentially be taking longer than we think we are, right? It's just like, okay, we just need transcripts, but all of a sudden this simple transcript has become much more work than we anticipated. The same thing with images. Let's say your website has 350 images on it. So we need to go through those images and decide whether they're meaningful or decorative, and then assign alt text descriptions, alt text values to all of those alt attributes where the image is meaningful. So again, fairly simple, not technically complex. We can train someone how to do it, but it's going to take a while to get through this. Content remediation is important, but it's separate. It's easier to do, but it can take a really long time. Now, when it comes to code remediation, this is technically advanced. It's not something that we're going to be able to easily train someone how to do. So you will need a developer with accessibility knowledge, or you will need a third party to help you with this. You might have your own developer in-house and then have them work with an accessibility consultant. But that is going to be a disjointed process because you have a continual back and forth on potentially many, many issues. And that can make the time necessary for remediation extend well beyond what you would like. And I have seen many instances where large companies literally spend months on back and forth working through accessibility, and they never can quite complete everything because there are changes being made to the website. There's new content being uploaded, new pages are being created, other pages are being taken down, and the disjointed process taking longer affects that. And then you're working through an audit, and then all of a sudden you're not sure whether the different issues on the audits apply. It can become very jumbled. So you want to take care of this as soon as possible. Ideally, the same person who is auditing, or the same team who is auditing, is also the same team that is remediating, but that's what comes into play with the code. So I do have the ADA compliance program where you will get an audit and you will also get the code remediation, and then the content remediation is at your option. With the content remediation, you can know what needs to be remediated and then decide whether it's something you want to take on in-house, or whether it's something you want to source out. It really doesn't make sense for the same person who is working on the technical side to take care of the content. When it comes to accessibility and remediation, you want to consider the efficient allocation of resources. You don't want to say, hey, you're a developer, you know about the technical side. Will you also do all of the We also add alt text descriptions for all of the images because that's really an inefficient use of that developer and their pay rate. You'd rather work on that separately. So that's a consideration. But as I was saying, with the ADA compliance program, you're going to have this at your option. Of course, it's an additional charge, but you can get it taken care of and have everything done for you. So I will provide more information in the description. But the point of this video is that when you are undertaking remediation, you want to divide it into two separate parts. You want to divide it into code remediation and then content remediation. Both are extremely important, but the approach you take with either should be different, or you should at least know the different considerations before you go into remediation for both.